So after you are done setting up the pure water factory, the pure water section of your production factory, you can now come down to the bottled water section. Now, similar to the pure water section, if you are combining both factories, you don't need to set up another water treatment system. You only need to connect your pipes from the existing water treatment section to the bottled water section. So as usual, or should I say similar to the pure water section, the water treatment section is still the same for the bottled water. And some of the materials, the requirements are also the same. That's like the filter cartridges, the pumping machine, the treatment plant, reverse osmosis, and the ultraviolet. You will also need them for the bottled water section. So in addition to this, you also need the monoblock machine. Now the monoblock machine is the washing machine, filling and capping. This is the main monoblock unit. They are of various capacity. You can get one that does 8 bottles, you can get 12 bottles and so on. So you will need the monoblock machine. The most common one in Nigeria is the 3-in-1 monoblock machine. And if you have this machine, you are set for you to, at least you are one step ahead in setting up your bottled water factory. The next thing is also the air conveyor and the steam leveler. So attached to the monoblock machine is the air conveyor and the steam leveler. This air conveyor is what pushes the bottles from the starting point into the main monoblock unit itself for it to go through washing, filling and capping. Now when you are done with the washing, filling and capping, all this process is automatic. It moves down to to the conveyor. Now this conveyor carries it and passes through the steam labeling machine. What the steam labeling machine does is after you put your labels on the bottle, the steam labeler attaches the labels to the bottle of the machine so that it have that firm grip on the bottle itself. That's the job of the steam labeler. So after you've had this, you also need your inkjet printing machine. What the inkjet does is put in the dates for your manufacturing, your expiring date, and also your NAFDAC number. That's the job of the inkjet printing machine. You also have the shrink wrapping machine. What the shrink wrapping machine does, as I explained earlier, is the one that package the bottled water itself and holds it firm for it to be transported and distributed evenly in the market. You will also need the PET blowing machine. Now what the PET blowing machine does is it is used to blow the PET preforms. The PET preforms are just those small pre-bottles. If you follow the Instagram page, you must have seen the PET bottle there. The PET bottles are those small preforms that are put in the blowing machine, and when the blowing machine does its thing, that's when you apply the pressure to the PET preforms, it's able to form your actual bottle. So you will need the blowing machine because this is very useful to the factory. Although some people consider this to be optional, some people set up their factory without the blowing machine, but it is highly recommended that you have your own blowing machine so that by the time you've produced your PET bottles, produce your bottles themselves, you can immediately start filling. But if you outsource your blowing, that's blowing of your bottles, if you outsource it to a different company or to someone external, before your bottles will get to the factory and before you begin production, it takes time. And you also need to pay for transportation costs and also pay the people blowing your bottles in the other factory. So it is advisable that when you are setting up your own bottled water factory, you should buy the PET blowing machine itself. Now the PET blowing machine comes with different molds. Maybe you want to produce that 5 cl, 50 cl, 75 cl, or even 1 liter. You can get the mold for each of these individual bottles and apply them to your blowing machine. So with this,
What was that from there? Yeah, it comes inside here. The pump here will fill this one. From here, it comes to this filter. Then it stores in the semi-treated. That semi-treated now will feed this arrow. This arrow now will feed the
good
other
morning.
system. Where there's no
I know,
movement.
well done.
Then from there now, it feeds the bottle machine and the sachet. For now, the one we have gone fine, then we will now cut off the pure water from the room. Yeah. For the long run, I have to look where because of the this one inside. So we just have to, for now, check the market. We use this one. No, we don't like that.
So as you can see right over here, we have this tool. This tool is meant, this is a semi-automatic machine. So this tool is meant to support the staff. You know, they'll be standing for extended periods of time. Maybe they are producing for like 4 hours, 5 hours. You don't expect them to stand throughout the period checking all the bottles here. So we have this tool so that at least they can sit down and have, you know, some small relaxation while production is going on. Then here too in the monoblock section, like for this equipment, you need 3 people to operate it. At least one person will be there, be feeding in the bottles. You know, like I said, this is semi-automatic line. So these are the bottles. This is 35 cl. This is our 35 cl bottles, the smaller one. They'll feed it through here. Then it will pass through the machine. And you can see it here, 3000 bottles per hour. It will pass through the machine. Then it will come to the washing section. From the washing section, it will go to the filling section. From the filling section, it will come to the capping section. And this is what fits in the caps. That's the cover for the bottles. We also have this stand here, you know, just to make it easier to feed the caps. If it were a fully automatic line, we won't need anybody to be putting caps there. We have a bag of caps. You won't need anybody to do it, but because this is a semi-automatic line, you need somebody to feed in the caps for the monoblock machine. And if you look properly around here, you can see that we grease the equipment. Like I said, this is an old machine. We've been using it for a while, so we've been greasing it a lot. And you also have to do it too for your own. Even if it's a new machine, you need to grease it, because over time, you know, this is water and this is metal, so it starts to build rust. So if you don't grease it properly, the bottles will jam during production, and that could cost you quite a lot. So greasing the machine is very important. So after the bottles have passed through here, don't worry, if they bring light, I will show you production, how it's happening. After it has passed through here, it has passed through the capping side. You can see the other side, so you can see the grease that we've applied for free flow of movement. So after it has passed through the whole place, it passed through this conveyor belt. It's this conveyor belt that brings it through the steam labeling machine. So what the steam labeling machine does is it attaches the label with the bottle, just as you see here. So when it does that, it comes out through here. You can see it. It comes out through here. So we have this extra rubber to collect the bottles, and this is the steam labeling machine. So we have that extra rubber to collect the bottles as they are coming out. Then when we collect them, we bring it to the shrink wrapping machine. That's the packaging machine. So this is the machine that packages it and brings it out in a pack. This is the shrink wrapping film. This is one of the raw materials we'll be buying: the shrink wrapping film, the caps which I showed you earlier there, then the labels for the bottles, and the PET bottle. That's the preform, the smaller version of this actual bottle. So this is the shrink wrapping machine. You arrange the bottles here. If it is 12 you put in a pack, you arrange 12 bottles here. If it is 20 in a pack, you put your 20 here. Then you run it through the shrink wrapping machine. I would say in this factory, this is the hottest machine. So if you have a bottled water factory, advisably, I would advise that you have cross ventilation, proper cross ventilation, like you see in our own factory here. If you have proper cross ventilation, then if possible, put AC too. AC will help a lot. This is a pack of SamSafe table water, and this is 35 cl. There are 20 bottles in a pack, and this is one of our most demanded products. Now, before you start bottled water production, there are certain things you need to know about the bottled water production process. That's right from the factory and down to distribution. Now, before you get into the water production business, you might be asking yourself, which one is more preferable? Should I go with pure water or should I start with bottled water? And it can be kind of confusing for you to be able to choose which one, or for you to know which one can be best for you, because different markets have different needs, and there are several places where maybe bottled water will try well for you and sachet water will not do, and vice versa. So it is very important for you to know what they are going for when you are starting bottled water production. Now, the first thing you need to know is that for bottled water production, compared to sachet water production, establishing a bottled water manufacturing factory can be quite expensive. And this is because of the amount of equipment and the materials involved in setting up a bottled water facility. For setting up a bottled water facility, there are several items you need, several equipment, heavier equipment. You need your monoblock machine, the one that does the filling, washing, and capping. You need your shrink labeling machine. You need your shrink wrapping machine for packaging it and making it come out in a pack like this. Then you also need your blowing machine for making the bottles. So these are just a few of some of those items you need, and even the materials too. You need several materials to be able to produce a bottle of water. So with all these things involved, it can be quite expensive to establish. But depending on your market and depending on who you are supplying to, the returns on your investment can be quite high. Now, for establishing a bottled water factory, you will need to set up the factory in a place that has a lot of water. Now, the water that will be coming into the monoblock machine, the monoblock machine does washing. And to do high pressure washing for bottled water, it takes a lot of water. So a lot of water will be going out as waste because of the washing. So you need a lot of water to be able to handle the washing, the filling, the capping, and every other activity that goes on in the factory. Now, for the factory structure, in my last video, I did a video about building a water factory. Now, normally, if you are building only a sachet water factory, you won't need a blowing room. But for the fact that you are building a bottled water facility, you'll need a blowing room. Now, the blowing room is where the bottle making activities of the factory takes place. If you are producing your 35 cl bottles, or 75 cl bottles, or even your dispenser gallon, it all takes place in the blowing room. Although for the dispenser gallon, a more economical way to do it, it is more cheaper for you to get the already blown bottles, recycle them, wash them, then fill them, because the blowing machine for the dispenser gallon can be quite expensive. So it's also an alternative if you are in that line of production. Also, for the bottled water production, you can also have your bottles blown externally for you. That's from a different factory. Somebody will blow your bottles and bring them for you. But the logistics for that now can be quite demanding and taxing, because the person blowing there, you need to pay the operator, you need to transport your preforms there. After blowing, you need to transport it back. So by the time you do all the calculations for that, you see that it will affect your cost of production and your profit margin for producing bottled water. Now, once you've built your factory, and you can check out my last video where I talked about building a water factory. Once you've built your bottled water factory, you will need enough electricity and enough current coming into that factory. In short, you will need current of more than 100 kVA coming into the factory. For this specific reason, in our factory, we bought a transformer to be able to supply current to our bottled water equipment. Now, you might have some challenges with maybe light coming into the factory. It might be low current. In short, we experienced it one time for more than a month. We were having low current in our bottled water facility. So we need to get that transformer to be able to, adjust the current and make sure that enough light is coming into the factory. There was a time where we had issues, especially during the rainy season. where the light was fluctuating, we're getting low current, it will become high after a while, and it affected a few of our equipments too, especially the shrink wrapping machine back then. So we really had to work on that. So having a transformer will help you, stabilize the electricity, especially in a bottled water facility. Now, for the transformer too, regardless of if you are getting a transformer, a generator, solar, your target should be 120 kVA or 150 upwards, because this is the amount of current and electricity that should be able to satisfy your factory, including your borehole, your equipment, your treatment equipment, your bottle making machine, your shrink wrapping, and every other thing within the factory. So having this amount, this capacity, will be able to help you stabilize the current in the factory. Once you are done with the construction of your factory and maybe you want to do registration, it's important for you to know that you need to do a registration specifically for your bottled water. Now, you might already have a sachet water facility, but according to NAFDAC requirements, it's also required for you to do a registration for your bottled water. Now, there are some people who have asked me in the past, okay, I have a sachet water facility in so location, and I want to set up my bottled water facility in a different location. Although your products might be carrying the same name, but it is also advised by NAFDAC that you should do a registration for both facilities. That's doing for your sachet water and doing for your bottled water. Now, even if it is a bottled water facility, maybe you have a bottled water facility in Abuja here, and you want to open another branch to in the same Abuja, you still need to do a fresh registration, because what they are going to do is they are testing the water, they are testing the quality of that particular borehole to be able to determine if it is safe for consumption. It is not the name they are looking at this point, it is the quality of the water. So it is important for you to also have this in mind and for you to be aware of it, so that in case you run into any challenges in the future, you won't say you didn't know of this. And a good place for sourcing information about NAFDAC requirements is just to check their website. I will leave the link to their website in the description so that you can go there, also read up on the information which they have there, and have a better understanding on how to go about the registrations. And in my one-on-one coaching session, I have a contact of someone who works with NAFDAC that does water registration. He does registration for CAC and every other kind of government documentation you might need, even the water testing. He follows up on that. So once you sign up for the one-on-one coaching session, which I'll be leaving the contact information at the end of the video, we can discuss there, and you'll be able to get more value from there. And the one-on-one coaching session is not free, please. So by the time you contact me, we'll be able to discuss more and know how to proceed about your project. Now, I'm coming down to the bottled water production. For you to produce a pack of bottled water, a pack like this, and for you to have a single bottle like this, there are several things which you need. And the first one, just by showing you here, is the cap. You need the caps. So the caps is what covers the bottle, and the caps need to be good to be able to avoid any leakages. You can see, like, there are some times where you will buy caps if you are getting it from maybe a supplier that doesn't have good quality caps. You see that after capping the bottles, the water will start leaking from here. But now this one is properly sealed and there are no leaks. So I don't know if you are hearing noise. There's so much noise here in the background. There's a dog barking, there are people discussing. So please forgive the audio and just focus on my voice. So this is the main bottle itself. This bottle is what you put in the blowing machine, your bottle making machine. That's the PET bottle that will actually form this bottle for you. And for you to actually form this bottle in your blowing machine, you will need a mold. You can get a plain mold or you can get a customized mold. We have a customized mold for SamSafe water. Let me show you here. You'll see an inscription on the bottle. It says SamSafe. This is, I don't know if you can see it. I will include a clip of our other bottles so that have it. So this is an inscription to show that this is a bottle of SamSafe even without the label. Now, another material for bottled water production is the label. This label will need to be approved by NAFDAC and be checked by CAC before you can be able to use it on your bottled water. They will need to check that the name is available and if your design is approved by government. Now, these are the major things you will need for producing the bottled water. Now, for packaging the bottled water, you will need a shrink wrapping film. This shrink wrapping film is what is out here, like this external film you are seeing. This is the shrink wrapping film. The shrink wrapping film, you will put it in the shrink wrapping machine. You will put your bottles inside and it will do the shrink packaging for you. Now, there are several ways of doing shrink wrapping. There's the automatic one, which you use the shrink wrapping machine, and there's the manual one, which you use the hot air gun. That manual one takes a lot of time, and we usually only use that manual hot air gun if there's no light and we are trying to round up some products to deliver to the market. Maybe somebody is waiting for us urgently and we just need like 5 packs to package and give the person. That's when we use the hot air gun. But the shrink wrapping machine is what is highly recommended for fast packaging. That one packages the bottles, that's regardless of that 5 cl, 50 cl, or any amount. It does the shrink wrapping and it packages it to come out fine and neat like this. So these are the major materials that are needed when it comes to bottled water packaging and production. Now, for these materials, there are several suppliers of them. Depending on which state you are in, there should be a supplier of materials for bottled water production and packaging. Now, one way which you could actually get a supplier, because people do reach out to me, but the problem here is if you reach out to me, sometimes you might be reaching out to me from Jigawa, me I'm in Abuja, you might be reaching out to me from maybe Lagos, me I'm in Abuja, you might be reaching out to me from any state. In short, even outside the country, people have reached out to me. But one easy way for you to get a supplier, and which I feel to even be more reliable than the one I'll be providing, is by doing local research. Now, there are people who supply bottled water. I'm sure within your area, there's someone who supplies bottled water. You can, find out from the suppliers, maybe the drivers of the vehicles, or you can pick the bottled water, call the number. Usually, it's the manager's number that is on the bottled water. You can call the number, have a discussion with the manager, tell the person, okay, you're thinking of establishing a bottled water in this same area. You happen to see their water, and you would like to find out more about bottled water production. So from there, you'll be able to gain a lot of information about how much they sell, production capacity, the challenges that they even face within that community when supplying products. You just try to find out from them some of those major challenges which they face and how much they buy their materials, where they get their materials, and you'll be able to learn a lot from there. So for you to establish a bottled water factory, it is important for you to do all this groundwork research, for you to get a grounded knowledge on what the market will be like where you intend to set up your facility. Now, if you have enjoyed this video so far and you enjoyed the information being shared here, I'll really be happy if you would subscribe to the channel and also like the video. This encourages me to do more research, to create more videos, and to share more information. And I'm sure if you share the video, other people too who are interested in getting into this line of business will find more value in the videos. Now, for the equipment required for bottled water, they are of two sides. I've done previous videos where I've also discussed about this. There is the semi-automatic machine and there is the fully automatic machine. Now, the semi-automatic machine have some gaps when it comes to production, but the fully automatic machine is just an assembly line. It's a process. Now, for the semi-automatic, you need to manually feed the bottles, then it will do the washing, filling, capping, and the sealing. Then after it has passed through the shrink labeler, and even for the capping itself, for the semi-automatic, you will need to manually fetch the caps, put them in the cap holder of the machine before it actually caps the bottles. So this is the semi-automatic side. Now there is the fully automatic side, and the fully automatic side is a bit more expensive. For the fully automatic machine, for this you will need highest maybe 2 or 3 operators, because the whole process is automatic, right from feeding the bottles, filling, loading the caps, shrink wrapping, everything. It is done automatic. So there's a difference between the semi-automatic and the fully automatic. Now, depending on the production capacity too, the prices of the machine they vary, because even for the semi-automatic, you can have the one that produces 3,000 bottles, 10,000 bottles, 20,000 bottles, and similarly too with the fully automatic. This all depends on your budget and how much you have to invest in this project. Now, one thing again is when you are setting up a bottled water facility, normally if you are working with 1,000 liters per hour reverse osmosis machine for treating your water, for the sake of bottled water, you need 2,000 liters. Like I said, the bottled water machine does the washing, and the washing is done with treated water. So it's like you are doubling the capacity of the treatment process to be able to wash the bottles and to be able to also fill the bottles. So your treated water needs to be enough. That's why you need to double the capacity of your water treatment equipment. Now, depending on your production size, if you are going with 3,000 bottles, 10,000 bottles per hour, depending on the machine, the size of the reverse osmosis machine too also varies. And by the time you are able to understand the kind of scale of production you like to go with, the quotation will be drafted to you that accurately tells you how much you have to pay or how much it will cost you for setting up such production lines. Now, also, for the bottled water, because of the amount of water required for bottled water production, you will also need bigger tanks. Usually, it is recommended that you have at least from 5,000 liters upwards for bottled water. Because, in short, 10,000 liters, that's what I would even recommend. Because it will be able to store enough water to handle all this washing, filling, and capping in such a way that you won't have shortage during production. And you should also have a large finished product room, because people who supply bottled water tend to have a lot of orders. In short, that's one thing we struggle with in our factory. Sometimes we might have orders of 100 packs, and if you don't have a large finished product room to store this water, a time will come when you will need water in bulk, and that's when you will start struggling to produce water, to pack water. And before you produce and pack, it will cause delay in supply. And one thing, once people make requests, especially for bottled water like that, they just expect you to come and deliver the water. People don't really know the back end of production process, or if you are going to go and get preforms, if you are going to go and get labels. All they know is that they are requesting for bottled water and they expect you to supply that bottled water. So it is important that you have a large finished product room, so that by the time you produce and you keep your water, you will be able to supply as soon as the order is placed. When we started our bottled water factory, we actually introduced the use of distributors to distribute the water. Now you can do something similar to be able to sell more of your product. These distributors are people who have like a large finished product room to ensure. That's just the main thing that they need to have: a large finished product room or a warehouse to be able to store your water in bulk. Now, by the time they have this water on ground, they can be able to make connections, make contacts with other people to sell your water. Now, if your factory is located maybe in Abuja and you have a distributor staying at the outskirts of Abuja, maybe that's Suleja axis or Wagolada axis, or even in Kogi State, your distributors can come to your factory, maybe pack like 200 packs, 300 packs, take it to their own distribution outlet and market the water from there. So this will help you also sell more of your product, create more awareness, and you'll be able to dominate the market by having distribution outlets in so many places. Now, speaking more on the marketing efforts of bottled water, your major targets should be places like eateries, bars, hotels, and also recreational areas, major recreational areas. In short, when we started our bottled water production, we also visited places like churches, showcase the products, and tell people, okay, we have something like this in the market. And we got a lot of orders. Even when we commissioned the factory, we invited some people, they came, they saw the products, and they picked from there. Similarly, too, you can go to maybe a mosque or somewhere and also supply. So by doing so too with your product, you can be able to create connections. We also have hotels, schools. We also have places which we know that they do make requests for us. In short, there's a church here too close to where our factory is, that during any, should I say, Thanksgiving, any occasion they have, they place their order from us. So similarly too, you can boost your marketing efforts by having distributors, by doing outreach, by even posting it on your social media pages. Maybe you have a Facebook, you can post it there so that at least your family, your friends, the people who will be buying from you are people who stay close to you or people who stay close to your factory because of the transportation costs too. So by creating such awareness, you'll be able to educate more people and let them know that you have such good products in the market that is healthy for consumption. These equipments, they do have warranty. That's the equipments for bottled water production. But that notwithstanding, it is advisable that you always check on your machines. Like recently, we had our monoblock machine, the filling side shifted. These machines, the items, they are aluminum, they are made with steel. So as water is touching them over time, rust also builds too. So it is important that you grease the machine, you make sure that the equipments are up to standard, and you make sure that you don't have breaks during your production, because some of these items, like a little nozzle, just one nozzle that is not filling properly, can actually disrupt your production process, especially for bottled water. So it is important that you have a dedicated engineer that comes to check on your equipment and to make sure that all of them are running. And one thing is, for the semi-automatic, one challenge we faced was during production. One of our staffs a while back was not really paying attention to the production process. As they were producing, they were not looking at the equipment, were operating phone. That's why you need to, create rules, have ground rules within the factory. So because of this, like non-paying attention in the factory, it caused the filling side to jam. And because of that jam, the whole conveying side, the conveying section between the filling side and the capping side actually got stuck together. And it cost us a lot to actually separate them and fix it. It is important for you to educate your staffs on paying attention and focusing while production activities are going on. Now, for buying this equipment, there is the bottling equipment. You can either buy them within Nigeria or you can import them. Now, if you are just buying like a few items, you are just starting, I will highly recommend you buy from the Nigerian suppliers, because you have them easily supplied to you. They will be easily installed, and the people you'll be working with, at least they'll be able to understand the kind of project you are going for. But if you want to increase, maybe an existing supplier, or you're an existing manufacturer of bottled water, you can have bigger equipment supplied, because not to lie, in Nigeria we only have a few equipments. Like the equipments we have mostly are for small scale production, but if you need equipment to produce like 50,000 bottles per hour, anything large like that, you are going for like a massive production, it is importation that is the right way to go, because the people importing the machine, such production lines, will be able to properly install the machine. And advisably, please don't buy equipment from one person and have another person come and install it for you. I've seen a lot of people do that because maybe they are trying to cut down cost, or they are trying to be smart about it. They'll buy a few machines from here, they'll buy a few from this other person, and they'll ask another person to install it. So if you are buying from one supplier, at least let that supplier be the person installing the machines, because if there is any cause for warranty to arise, it is the person that supplied and installed that will be able to replace the part for you. But if you buy machines from a different person and you have another person come to install it, they will tell you they are not the person that supplied. In short, they will put the blame on the supplier of the machine. And if you talk to the supplier of the machine, he will put the blame on the person that installed the machine. So it is good for you to work with at least one supplier and one installer of equipment. And if you are importing machines, let the people importing the machines be the ones to install it for you. Don't import machines from maybe China or Bulgaria and have Nigerian engineers, people who will come and tell you, oh, they've done it before, and you believe them. Then they go and blow up your equipment for you. So it is important that you keep these things in mind. All this will help you in supplying your products effectively and timely in the market. Also, have periodic trainings with your operators and your drivers. This will help them have a better understanding on how to fulfill their duties perfectly in such a way that won't generate expenses for the company. So those are the major things you need to know when starting a bottled water factory. If there's anything I've missed out here, I'm sure in a few coming videos I'll be able to remember and maybe brush up and create another video containing that particular subject matter. If you want to subscribe to the channel or you want to join my one-on-one coaching, you can use the information on screen to join the one-on-one coaching. And the coaching is not free, please. I will share as much value as I can and share with you as much documents as I can and as much contacts as I can to help you with the project as you embark on it. As to sachet water production, if you intend to make a certain amount of money in bottled water, you need to target your production. So today I'll be giving us like a rough estimate how much you can potentially make if you produce a certain amount of bottled water per day, with the number of equipments, production capacity, all those good stuff. So today's case study will be for 2,000 packs. If you intend to produce or sell 2,000 packs, or you intend to make 4 million naira per day, you should produce 2,000 packs. Now for the bottling equipment, we have them of various capacities. We have the one that produces 3,000 bottles per hour. We have 12,000 bottles, various capacities, semi-automatic, fully automatic. But using our own factory as a case study, we have the 883 monoblock machine. So it produces around 3,000 bottles per hour. Now if you should arrange that 3,000 bottles in a pack, this is a pack of our water. This is 12 bottles in a pack. So 3,000 bottles arranged 12 in a pack. In an hour, you are supposed to have 250 packs. Now this means your factory, everything is working well, your equipments are flowing well, there is no any gap in production, your shrink wrapping machine is working well, everything. So it's estimated that at least in an hour you should have 250 packs. Now if you sell that pack of water that you produce at 2,000 naira, it is expected that in a day, if your distribution system is able to accommodate 2,000 packs per day, you should be able to have 4 million naira in sales. Now when you realize this amount of money, it's from this money now you deduct your direct cost and indirect cost for producing the pack of water and other expenses that are included. So to produce that pack, there are certain materials which you require, similar to the sachet water, whereby you need the nylon roll, you need the packing bag. For bottled water, you need preforms, that's your PET bottles, you need caps, you need labels, and you need the shrink wrapping film. Let me carry this pack again, maybe you will see. So everything that I just mentioned, the preforms, that's your actual bottle, the caps, that's the cover, the labels, that's the label that actually carries the name and NAFDAC number. Then this piece of plastic that holds the bottle together, that's the shrink wrapping film. So the current prices for these materials now in the market, although they fluctuate because some of these things are imported, and to produce some of these things to require electricity and petroleum, which has also increased too in the market. So these prices are not stable. But currently in the market, caps, you can get it at 8 naira for per cap. They are usually sold in bags. So depending on which company is selling to you, there are different sizes, there are different quantity of caps in a bag, etc., etc. But just using our own case study, a cap is around 8 naira per cap. Then we have the labels. The labels too, we usually buy them in bundle. I'm sure there's a factory I visited a while back. They told me since they established that factory, the initial label which they produced, that was like 5 years back, is what they've been using up till now, because that time they produced it in large quantity. So yeah, I'm sure maybe that time it was even cheaper. It was not even up to 10 naira. So they were able to take advantage of that initial production of the labels, and they produced a lot. So but yeah, now for you to produce a label is 10 naira. So if you need like 1,000 labels, you can do the calculation, 1,000 times 10 for you to know how much you'll be paying for that. The next is the preforms. So for the preforms, that's your PET bottles. Where we buy our preforms, they sell it per bag. So a bag, you have 1,000 pieces. Some companies will sell their own for you, it's 800 pieces. It just varies. They usually weigh it. So that the 1,000 pieces, we buy it for around 57,000, 58,000. So you should just work these numbers I'm calling should just like serve as a range for you to have an idea. So okay, within this amount, this is how much you will get it. So yeah, buying the bag of preforms, you will have estimated this amount. And for the preforms again, they have different grammage, because depending on the bottle you are making, the grams which you use to produce that particular bottle, it matters. Like for 75 cl, we use 18 grams to produce 75 cl bottle. For the 35 cl, we use the 14 grams. So depending on the size of bottle which you are making, the grammage too matters. For the 75 cl, we use 18 grams. For the 35 cl, since it's a smaller bottle, we use 14 grams. Now the next thing is the shrink wrapping film. That's this particular film, this piece of plastic which we use to hold the bottles together. The shrink wrapping film, we usually buy them, they have a micron range depending on how thick you want the film to be. That's how neatly packed you want your water to be. It usually ranges from 50 microns to 150 microns. That's like the working range. And I think a kg now, per kg for this shrink wrapping film is around 1,600 naira. So if you want to buy 10 kg, you do 1,006 times 10, and similarly too for the other items too which you'll be buying for production. So after you've understood some of this basic costs for these materials required for production, you can now formulate your own system for calculating your expenses. That's your direct cost, indirect cost for the production of a pack of bottled water. Usually the direct costs, they include the materials which you'll be buying, the water, petrol required for producing, etc., etc. Then for the indirect cost, we have your staffs, the people who will be paying to run the factory, and every other person who is directly involved or indirectly involved in the production process. You have like your drivers and the rest of them. So those are the major things which you will be spending on when it comes to producing a pack of water. I recently worked on a business plan where I just tried to draft out the percentages or the estimate of how much it takes to produce a pack of water, the direct cost involved, the indirect cost, the percentages, and your net profit before tax which you have after selling a pack of water. Now, if you are producing a pack of water and you are selling it for 2,000 naira per pack, inside that 2,000, 55% is estimated to go for your direct costs. So that's for your petrol, buying of materials, etc., etc. Then the next again is your indirect cost. That's payment of staff, payment of drivers, etc., etc. For this indirect cost, we have 30% going there. And after you've removed your direct cost 55%, your indirect cost 30%, you'll be left with your net profit before tax. Now this your net profit before tax is 15%. Now after you've produced your pack of water, 15% from that 2,000 is what will enter your profit account. So I hope with this small calculation and this analysis which I've done here in this video, at least you've been able to get a better idea of how much it costs to produce a pack of water and what your production target should be when you intend to make a certain amount of money. So today we just spoke about making 4 million naira per day. If you wish to make 8 million naira per day, you can now do the cost analysis calculation, and similarly to find a way which you would set your production in a way that you can easily market to people who buy at least 4,000 packs a day for you to make that 8 million. So for you to understand the market properly, I will also advise that in the area where you intend to set up your factory, at least do your own groundwork. If there are a few factories around that area, try to find out from them. You can have a discussion with the driver or with the manager of the factory, just for you to understand the cost of production is and how you can structure your own factory, your production system, everything to meet your desired expectation. I know some people who hear numbers from other people, they might get discouraged. But one thing you should keep at the back of your mind is that the business is different for everybody. the resources and the materials which you have to set up your own factory in a certain manner can be completely different from another person. Just yesterday I was having a discussion with someone who said he was intending to set up his factory in an industrial area that's around that Port Harcourt area, and that place is a place whereby they have 24 hours light, and the light is like basically free for them there. So that person will not be thinking of removing money for buying petrol or buying diesel to run his factory, because they have free light there. And at the end of the month, because power supply is one huge major challenge which most factories face, so at the end of the month that person can be smiling to the bank, and you might feel, oh, I have much bigger materials than him, I have bigger equipment, etc. Why is he making more money than me? You understand? So the business is just different, and every day you get to learn new things when you are in the business. So the major advice here is for you to do more research, especially where you intend to set up the bottled water business, because that is where you'll be able to get at least real-time data on what the cost of materials are, what the market base is there, and a few other information that will be necessary to helping you succeed in the business. I do hold one-on-one coaching sessions on WhatsApp where I go into details on how to set up a water factory specific to you and the resources which you have available. And in this program, I also share a business plan, a building plan, a NAFDAC checklist, and resource contacts too who can help you with the registration, documentation, and every other thing that has to do with setting up the water factory. If you are interested in joining the program, you can contact me using the number displayed on your screen. Just yesterday, somebody contacted me in the coaching session. We had a live video chat where he was showing me the project in real time, and I was able to give my own opinions and advice, and also guide appropriately on what are the next steps and the things he needs to do for him to accomplish that project. So similarly too, if you are interested in learning more about the business, maybe you have a land, you are not sure if you can use that space for production, maybe you are thinking of buying materials, maybe you are thinking of getting one or two things, that coaching call will guide you, and it will also help you to not lose money. Because somebody contacted me too just a few days back that he wanted to set up a water factory, and he got one particular type of filling machine. I think I will include a video of the filling machine. He constructed that factory now for over a year, and he has not been able to get the approval of NAFDAC, because when NAFDAC visited his factory, they saw the machine and they said they won't approve that machine for the kind of production which he was going for. The coaching session is meant to serve as a guide that will help you not to make costly mistakes when setting up your water factory.
So in this video today, I'll be taking you on a tour of this bottling facility. And in this bottling facility, we have the fully automatic PET blowing machine and the semi-automatic PET blowing machine. The PET blowing machine is the machine used for making bottles for bottled water production. That's for 35 cl, 50 cl, 75 cl, etc. etc. So these two sets of equipment, I know you must have been hearing me mention semi-automatic machine and fully automatic machine. Well, today you'll be seeing it practically in action. I'm sure some of you are already familiar with the different types of machines, but this is just to like refresh your memory and show you the equipment in action. Then you will also be having a look at the cost of production. Like we'll be taking a look at the cost of production for producing a pack of bottled water. We'll be seeing the profit margins for both the sachet water, bottled water, and dispenser gallon, and just some um, major things in general that has to do with pure water production, bottled water production, and dispenser gallon production. Based on preference too, you will also hear which one is preferable and which one is much more easier for you to start. So just relax, watch the whole video, watch it till the end. I'll be leaving my contact information within the video. If you're interested in joining my one-on-one coaching program, you can sit down, watch the video, then once you get the contact, you can send me a DM. You can also check out my other videos, I have the contact there. You can reach out to me for that.
The rate is 4, the blowing is 4. You get it? So they give you 4,000 bottles per hour. So, give you 4,000 bottles per hour. is that we have a 470 machine. Can use 4,000 bottles per hour. For the monoblock is giving us 6,000 bottles per hour. So how would you know that one for a 6 cavity machine that blow 6 bottles at the same time? But we get for a 4 and that one is 6, that one is 6. So how would you know that one is 6 cavity? If I get 6 cavity, we can blow 8 bottles at the same time. If I get 6 bottles, I can blow 6 bottles at the same time. If I get 4, I can blow 4 bottles at the same time. If I get 2, I can blow 2 at the same time. Based on so many factors. The market visibility, the quantity you want to produce, how you want to produce it, and how you want to run it. So this is automatic blowing machine. You can see it's not doing anything. It's not blowing by itself. Just looking at it. This one moving by itself on its own. This one moving by itself on its own. This one blowing by itself on its own. This is to produce immediately. You will not stop it there. You move straight. Straight. For this one, when you press the machine. Because it's not now. That's why it's not bad. Give a fresh blowing fan. To drop it for them. So when they come, we'll use manually here. Either I use it here or use it here. So for the machine, coming from here, straight to the machine. Automatically. But if they are not to separate the machine, but when they have this one, they use this one. Now the machine can do 2,000 bottles. 2,000 bottles. So you have to have extra bag to augment. So this guy is doing, this guy is doing automatically, they are all going together. So you keep it up at the same time. So this is the first cavity, I give you 4,000 bottles for blowing automatically. Cavity. Yeah, you have a woman effort happening here because this is the bottle that controls it for it to blow. This is the heater, the pet heater. So you go through it, you pick it up, and you put it here, and you go and put it in the sound. Don't know what is a auto pet blowing machine. It's not only fully automated blowing machine that you have there. I think there is 2 cavities each. Those are 2 cavities. Yes, there is 2 cavities. Yeah, we use it. We use the body machine, our monoblock then is more larger than the automatic blowing machine. So we need all these ones to augment. And also there are some hotels we produce water for. So we normally have that mode. These are different modes. Some of them is just some envoys, some are elements of them. So we normally use based on the company mode that we're using to produce. Yes, their mode is customized, their data is customized, everything is there. The picture is there, just so you are doing that. Yeah, in Nigeria, we send the design there to them. They go through it, they do a test run, they send out the test run, you go through it, it's fine. But there are many factors to consider in producing a mold. So many factors to consider in producing a mold. One, the grooves in your bottles tend to determine the lower grammage you use to get in a good bottle. Yes. And also, the mold you are designing, you have to ask, what kind of size of cap do you want? 50 cm by 20. You sell it at 2,000 naira. You sell it at 2,000 naira. But okay, the cap right now is 8 naira. The preform right now is 54 naira. The shrink wrapping right now is 38 naira. The label per piece is 5 naira 40 kobo. So 5 naira 40 kobo for 20 bottles. Okay, let me use 8 naira for a cap plus the bottle of 54 naira. We do the plotting plus the label now of 5 naira 50 kobo 40 kobo. Add everything together, divide it by 20. You give you 100 naira. So if you add everything together, you find that you have spent close to 17 naira to produce 1 bottle. So what about the overhead? So the overhead now will take close to 30%. Find that you are not making anything here. Yes. If this is 2,000 divided by 20 is 100 naira per bottle. Now only the preform to blow a bottle is 54 naira. Now the cap is 28 naira. 32, we have 4,000 cap in a bag and it's 32,000 naira in a bag. 32,000 naira divided by 4,000 will give you 8 naira. Now that 8 naira is for one single cap. And you have many damages too. You have many damages also. And 11 naira for 50 cents is 5 naira 40 kobo. So if you add everything for only 1 bottle, production of 1 bottle will give you like 70% direct material cost, which is higher than all those other ones. Then if you overhead, you're diesel. So that will spend 5,000 litres per month for diesel. And that 5,000 litres per month is giving us close to 7 million naira. The salary. What about the NEPA bill, apart from the diesel?
So we'll use both NEPA and this thing. Otherwise, damages. Because that damages you up to 5% of the total production turnover. So the bottled water actually is based on volume. Based on volume. So if you have a very large volume based on production and sales, then you can actually break even and make up. But for a start, I always advise start from special water and dispenser, then you enter from 5 shares, 50 shares and 5 shares. There's something I don't know if it's possible, but I want to show you something. It's 10 naira. The QC is 8 naira. Everything you have now is less than 90 naira. But you're spending it now 100. There is the gross profit margin now. You have like 10%. But the major part of the overhead now, the overhead about the salary, the power, the rent, and everything. The maintenance and all that things, that is overhead. Maybe 30%. So you have 60% as a profit. So based on one that is more lucrative, based on accounting concept, you say the dispenser. After that, sachet water. Yes. After that, the sachet water. Sachet water are only 2 direct materials. We call it the sachet water, listen, nylon, and the sachet water packing bag. Those are the only 2. So the sachet water roll nylon and the packing bag. That means, let me see explain it to you. I don't know. I would have shown
The nylon roll.
A nylon roll.
See one. Yeah, although if you use that one.
Okay, I've seen it. There's a roll that prints your design. I will show you in my office. I have a good roll. They are customized your design. It's a plain nylon, but they use ink to customize your nylon. The roll. So that is the roll you start in your machine. That will produce it like this. So water is filling it to this cup. Filling it to this cup. You get it? So you only need this roll and the packet bag by 20. To pack it by 20.
Okay.
That is all you need.
Okay.
You get it? And I'm telling you, this one, highest 30% of your direct cost expenses you go for the raw materials. Then 30% for overhead. So you have 40% as a profit margin. Net profit margin. So you are getting this one.
To like the video if you actually enjoy it, because this shows your support and it encourages me to post more videos, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel.
So it's weekend today, and the factory is currently, I won't say empty, because we still have some people fixing labels on our bottle. So, but yeah, just right when we got here, about to start production, because we're about to do bottle filling, NEPA took the light. So now look at our generator there, but we are not on it now. We'll just hold on a little bit. So from the entrance, you enter through here. This section you see here, that side is the office. I don't know if you can see it. Or let me just go out. So this is cloak room. This is raw materials room. This is for finished products. Then this is production room. So like I said, no light, everywhere is quiet, but this is the main bottling machine. This is the monoblock machine, and you can see the space where we have the bottling equipment here. So when you are done with the filling and the packaging here, you bring it out to your finished product room. So after packaging the bottles, this is what they will look like in the finished product room. If you have a bigger factory, I will highly suggest that your finished product room should be big too, because if you have a small finished product room, by the time you start producing more and more, you will start looking for space to store your water. You know, there will come a time, like during the raining season, there are periods whereby the sales, or should I say the demand for water, the way people consume water, it drops. So within those seasons, you will produce water and you will keep in the factory. So you will see light, you will want to take advantage of the light and produce more, but because of the finished product room, it's not big enough to store enough water. You will just have to, look at the lights and ignore it until they take out the product in the finished product room, create more space, then you store more products. So depending on your scale of production, you can just look at the finished product room and make it big, like make it a little bit bigger. Like what we have here, we store both pure water and bottled water. Even sometimes here is not enough for us. Sometimes the drivers will come, once they pack the water, that is when we'll start producing again to store. But once we produce and here is at maximum capacity, we cannot add any other thing here. So yeah, if possible, if you have an external storage room, an external storehouse to store your product, that is also recommended. So coming from the production room here, we have the finished product room. Then this is the blowing room. The blowing room is where we make our bottles, PET blowing room. This is the PET bottle, the small one, and this is the actual bottle. This is our 75 cl bottle. The operator was here overnight to take advantage of the Nepal light to blow bottles. So that is why we have a lot of sacks here with bottles already blown. This is to make the work easier for us, so that we are here now today, we will just focus on filling and packaging. This is the blowing machine we use. This is actually a semi-automatic blowing machine, you can see it. And this is the mold we currently have installed. This is the mold for 75 cl. So it is this mold that gives us this bottle. Let me show you. Let me put it here now like this. You can see how it fits here. Let me not force it in, but you get the picture. So this is the machine that makes the bottle. And for this PET blowing, you can actually have only this PET blowing machine here and run your business with it. Because so we are done with production for today, and we are currently loading the products into the truck because we have some orders that we need to fulfill this afternoon. So all the equipments have been turned off. This is post-production, and yeah, let me show you these bottles here. These bottles you see here, during the course of production we had some defects, although some of them we've already tried to recouple them and readjust them so that they can be packaged. But during production sometimes we get defects like this, like you can see this one leaking. There's something like this too, and so on. Although I would say maybe it's because we are using a semi-automatic machine, but it is also important that during production, the person mounting that monoblock machine, that's the main machine that does washing, filling and capping, it is important that the person pays close attention to the machine, because during production sometimes you might have some jams and maybe some complications that you need to correct yourself.
Wannan kuma ɗari asalin gidan shi ba fada ba. Na gidan baba ma 150 ake ne, ana so a kara 150 gobe.
Last thing you will need are your water filter cartridges, and this costs anywhere from 10,000 naira and above. So the water filter cartridges are those cartridges that help you trap your water, treat them, and absorb any bacteria that might be inside the water. So these are all the machines and the equipments you need for you to set up a bottled water production. Only bottled water in this case. This video is just for bottled water. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you found it very informative. You can reach out to us by sending us an email, and you can also reach out to Bevi Water Technology too. All the links and the contact information will be in the description box. By the way, don't forget to also leave a comment. If there's any video or any question that you have, you can leave a comment. I'll go through them and upload a video about them. Also check out our Instagram. I post videos of our production process, what's going on in the factory, all of them. I post them on Instagram. So follow the Instagram and also subscribe to us on YouTube for you to get double content and get inspired to set up your water production factory or to push on harder on your business. So thank you all for watching this video. Until the next video, bye bye. This list is also approved by the Standard Organization of Nigeria. They visited our factory, they checked our machines, and they approved them. So you can be rest assured that these machines and this list I'm giving to you is a comprehensive list of all the things that are required and needed for you to set up. The first machine we have here on the list is the Dingley monoblock machine. This is the machine that comprises of all the washing, filling, and capping of the bottles in a bottled water production line. So this machine currently costs from around 8.5 million naira above. The reason why I'm saying above, because we know the prices and the market when it comes to buying and selling of industrial machines like this. There is market fluctuation when it comes to pricing and the exchange rate. So you can only have an estimated price. And in a country like Nigeria, in most cases, some of these prices go up. They don't come down. So you can just budget from 8.5 million naira and above if you are thinking of buying the monoblock machine. There are other machines too that accompany the monoblock machine that brings out the beauty of a packaged bottled water. But the monoblock machine, which carries out the washing, filling, and capping of your bottle, is the important, or shall I say, the first machine you should get for you to set up a bottled water production factory. So the next machine you will need is the air conveyor and the steam leveler. So the air conveyor is the machine that actually pushes your bottle after they've been blown. We'll get to that machine very soon. After you have your bottles with you, because this is a semi-automatic monoblock machine. So after you've had the bottles with you, you put it in the air conveyor. The air conveyor sends your bottle down to the monoblock machine, the main monoblock unit. That's when it goes through the washing process, the filling process, and the capping process. Now, after this bottle is done with all these processes, it passes through the conveyor again that leads it to the steam leveler. So the steam leveler is the machine that attaches your label, your branded label, with your bottle. So if you've used a branded bottle before, like if you've drank a branded bottled water before, let me show you an example. This is 35cl SamSafe bottle, and you can see how neatly labeled this bottle is. So this is the work of the steam labeling machine. It attaches the label to the bottle. This machine costs anywhere from around 900,000 and above. And for the quantity for each of this machine, the monoblock machine, you need one of it. And for the steam labeler and the air conveyor, you just need one of each. So moving to our next machine. The next machine you will need is the cap loader. So the cap loader is the machine that sends the cap to the cap loader that actually caps the bottle. Now, it is structured in such a way that this can be done manually or can be done automatically. So the cap loader sends the caps automatically. But if you don't have the cap loader, you have to do this manually by climbing the machine itself and turning the caps into the cap loader, which can interrupt the whole production process. So it is advisable for you to get this machine and also include it to your production line. And for this machine, you only need one of this, and it costs around 1.4 million naira and above. The next thing you will need is the receiving and holding table, and you will need to have a holding table because this alleviates the top of the table equal to the size of the steam labeling machine, so that immediately the bottle comes out of the steam labeling machine, it lands on the receiving table. So you need around two of this, and this table costs from 100,000 and above. The next machine you will need for your bottled water production is the shrink sleeve machine, the shrink tunnel, or the shrink wrapping machine. So this is the machine that collects the bottled water. After you've collected everything on your receiving table, your holding table, you pack your bottles, you arrange them in the shrink wrapping machine, insert your shrink wrapping film, and you start wrapping your bottles. Now, if you've gone to a supermarket or you visited a warehouse or a huge store, you will see how these bottled waters are packaged. This is the work of the shrink wrapping machine. So you will need one of this machine depending on your production. Maybe if you have like 3 of the monoblock machines and you have like 50,000 bottles per day production, you will need more shrink wrapping machine. But for you just starting out, you will need only one of this machine. So immediately you collect your bottles from the steam labeler, you're able to send it immediately to the shrink wrapping machine and have your bottles wrapped and packaged neatly. By the way, I will advise that for some of these machines, you might be tempted to buy a second-hand machine, but advisably, for most of these machines, it is advised that you buy a new one, because we have experience with a second-hand machine, and to be honest with you, it's not funny. When you buy a second-hand machine, you don't know the kind of hell that machine has been through. You don't know how long they've been using that machine. So if that machine should get to your hand, you will just keep on spending money on repairs, which might even cost you more than buying a new machine. So it is advisable that you buy a new machine when it comes to your bottled water production. And the shrink wrapping machine costs around 3 million naira and above. So if you are going to the market or you are contacting Beric for you to buy this shrink wrapping machine, just have anything from 3 million naira in your hand and above, because of the market situation when it comes to buying these machines. The next machine you will need for your bottled water production is the stretch blowing machine. Now this blowing machine is the machine, if you follow us on Instagram, you've seen a lot from our blowing machine. This blowing machine is the machine that you use to put in your preforms, that's your raw materials, your PET bottles, and you actually blow it into an actual size. Now for the PET blowing machine, you will need one of these, a heater and compressor. Although these are optional, but it is important, and all these things are necessary. In short, I don't even think any of this is optional. You need all of this for you to have like a standard factory and for your production to go on smoothly. Sometimes some people go into the business without a blowing machine to actually blow their own bottles, but it is advisable and also cheaper for you to purchase your own blowing machine. And this blowing machine costs anywhere from around 6.5 million naira and above. So if you are going to the market for you to buy this machine, just know in mind that this is the price range of what it will cost you to acquire a blowing machine. Setting up a bottled water production factory is not cheap. And the blowing machine blows around 800 bottles per hour. The next thing you will need is water filter and air chiller for a blowing machine. Now this is important because by the time your blowing machine works for an extended period of time, or depending on the weather conditions situation in your area, the blowing machine might get extremely hot. So it is important that you have these 2 external machines to support your blowing machine and keep it at the right temperature for your production to go on smoothly. The water chiller and air filter cost around 1.5 million naira and above. So you should also have this in mind when going into the market for you to buy these machines. The next thing you will need here is the PET blowing mold. So now the PET blowing mold is the mold that brings out the shape of your bottles. Now there's a mold for 35 cl, for 50 cl, and also 75 cl. These are the molds which we currently use. So having these 3 different molds open up your options in the market to either sell 35 cl bottles, 50 cl, or 75 cl. So it is important for you to have these 3 molds, and each of the molds costs anywhere from 500,000 naira and above. So just have it in mind that if you are going for the 3, you know you are spending at least 500,000 for each of them, and you might just have only 2 of them depending on which one you would like to produce at the moment. But if you have a blowing machine, why not take advantage of just buying the 3 molds and diversify your market and more products in the market. So the bottle mold is also important when it comes to bottled water production. I think it's one of the most important things too that you need, because for you to have the shape of your bottles, you need mold. In short, all these things are very important. All of them are very important. So the next machine you will need is the inkjet machine. And the inkjet machine is the printer that prints the manufacturing date on your labels and the expiry date on your labels. Any other additional detail that you need to include on your bottles manually, this can be done with the inkjet printer. Although this is optional, but it is also required, because after every production of your bottled water or before the production of your bottled water, you have to date them and label the manufacturing date and the expiring date. So it is important for you to also get this machine. This machine costs anywhere from 3 million naira and above. So have this in mind. You only need one, and it produces up to 800 characters per second when you are using this machine. The next machine you need here is the water sterilizer. This machine is the final machine, the treatment machine, where water passes through before entering the monoblock machine. So if there are bacteria and organisms that have been able to withstand all the treatment, right from the filter cartridges, the reverse osmosis, and any other treatment process that water must have gone through, the ultraviolet water sterilizer is the last bus stop for these microorganisms, and you can expect a smooth production process with a production of up to 2,500 liters per hour that's coming from this water sterilizer. And this machine costs anywhere from 3 million naira and above. So you can have this at hand when going to the market for your water production machines. The next machine you will need here is the pumping machine. So the still pumping machine is what pushes water from your borehole or your treatment tanks from your water source to the monoblock machine. You will need one of these, and this costs anywhere from 90,000 naira and above. So you can have this at hand when going to the market for a production machine.